Tammy's Boy Podcast is intended for entertainment purposes only. Jon Carden is not a licensed therapist. He is just a friend.
Hey, everybody. Welcome on in to another fun-filled episode of Tammy's Boy, where we talk about parents, we get to the past, and we have some fun. But before we get into it, how about a few messages from my friend and our producer, Mr. Colt Garrett.
Tammy's kids, how the hell are we doing this week? We're doing pretty good, and we got another great episode coming at you right now. Full video, as always, going to be available on YouTube and Spotify, and we are now available officially on all your other podcast streaming platforms. Really sorry about that wait, but we are here. No matter where you're watching it or listening to it, make sure that you go like, comment, subscribe, give us a couple stars, whatever you want to do. It really helps us out. We got a lot more crazy stories headed your way, but we can't do it without your support. So get on that. It would really mean a lot to us. Guys, that is not enough out of me just yet. Also, if you guys have crazy stories about your family, right? Aunts, uncles, cousins, daughters, whatever, dog. We just need anything at this point. Write them into the show. Email us at tammy'sboypodcast@gmail.com, and we will read them on the air, sometimes with a guest. Fellas, that is enough out of me. John, who the hell we got on the couch today?
Colt, I love you so much, man. Just for the listeners know, we are all up on all streaming platforms now, and I think Colt probably lost about 30 hairs and got 20 gray ones from having to deal with it. But thank you so much, Colt.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Appreciate you, man. Big time.
100%.
We are up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're watching.
Amazon.
Make sure that you keep doing the thing you're doing, liking and subscribing, and we'll keep doing the thing we're doing by trying to make this the best podcast in the world.
Damn right.
But Tammy's kids, today we got a good friend of mine. He plays poker sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. Hello.
He's a regular at Comedy Mothership. He's hilarious. Tours all over the country. It's Dylan Sullivan, everybody.
Hey, what's up, Tammy's? What, Tammy's kids?
Yeah, that's what I call. I don't know what they want to be called. Hopefully one day somebody will pop in the comments like, call us this. And I'm like, okay, great. Thank you for naming yourself. I don't know what to call you.
Some TKs.
Just like parents, like if you put a name for your kid, I mean, they're just kind of stuck with it. So
I mean,
I think they're stuck
everybody's-
with it. I think that's our decision to make, honestly.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Totally.
in some way is a Tammy's kid, you know, in some way.
Some
Now,
way or another.
I may be a big dumb idiot, but what's the context? Tammy's
I
your
had-
mom?
Yeah, I had a turbulent mother, to say the least. Yeah. I would say, like, if I had to diagnose it, borderline personality disorder, possibly bipolar, but who really knows?
Right.
Dependency issues with benzos most of my life, bunch of marriages, not good ones, you know.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing, yeah. And so I usually I think what we're going to start doing is we're creating a scale based on like how much of a Tammy is your mother,
yeah.
Right.
or your father,
Yeah.
or your uncle. Who was the mess up in your family?
Yeah.
The black sheep, so to speak.
Ah.
Yeah.
And then we may do that on the Patreon. I don't know. We'll see.
People like write in, who they're Tammy.
We're
you know?
we're figuring
Right.
it out.
Then have
Okay.
like kind of a scale based off of his, and some things will work. So guys, if you guys have a Tammy in your life, let us know who they are.
Yeah, but we're growing and it's getting good.
Indeed, we are.
It's cool. So
That
we always
rules.
start this
I
off.
saw this big setup coming in. I was like, wow.
It's cool,
This
right?
is a big setup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank you.
it's all these guys, man.
Yeah.
They work their butts off. I appreciate them.
It looks good.
Right.
I don't do anything but sit here and ask questions.
That's also good.
That's it. I like the sunglasses.
Thanks, dude. I've been chucking them on. I think it gives me a little more confidence to be myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Some shades.
I feel
you
it.
know?
It's just a little
radiating
pizzazz.
confidence.
Yeah.
Because
kinda like
you
old-
dress very like every man. And you going on stage later?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, same.
And I'll probably be dressed like this.
Yep.
But
same.
honestly, I get like an old school Hollywood kind of vibe going on here. That's
Oh,
kind of
well,
what I get
thank
with
you.
it. That's
There's
solid.
that feeling.
Yeah, you know what
like,
I'm saying?
I do feel like I could audition for you for something for sure.
yeah.
Now, what it is, you know what I mean? That's the question.
Yeah.
You seem like you might make me do things.
old Hollywood does some terrible stuff.
Oh, buddy, I've seen Boogie Nights. Okay,
Dude, I keep on hearing about that movie. Is it as good as they say?
it's pretty great.
Really good. I just rewatched it like a week ago. It's
Really?
It's,
It's-
pretty solid. It's a fun watch.
Oh, that
Yeah.
rules.
It's really
It's pretty
fun.
good.
That's with Marky Mark, right?
Marky Mark, Burt Reynolds.
yes.
Oh, nice. Oh,
Yeah.
Burt Reynolds
Yeah,
in it?
Burt Reynolds. It's at Philip Seymour Hoffman,
Wow.
William H. Macy.
All stars.
Yeah,
Yeah, Julianne Moore. It's honestly stacked.
it's an
with people.
absolutely incredible cast.
Wow. I
John
gotta
C.
check that
Reilly.
out. John C. Riley's
Yeah,
in
Don
it.
Cheadle. It's stacked up, fellas.
Wow. I got to check
it's-
that out.
It's worth the watch. It's a hard watch. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets
It's
there.
not quite Uncut Gems, but it's,
Yeah, it gets dark.
it's a Jason kind of gems.
So that's good. Now we're a film critic podcast. We roam around wherever we need to be.
So we always start this off real simply. It's who raised Dylan Sullivan?
Wolves. No.
God, do we want that story one day? Oh man, just Mowgli sitting here. Just
Yeah, you got to get a guy on here raised by wolves. The ones who raised me were Tim and Lena.
okay, mom and dad.
Mom and dad.
They still together?
They were. My dad died maybe 3-4 years ago, something like that.
Okay.
But they were married for 30 whatever years.
How did he
30 some
pass?
years. He had cancer.
Oh, man, I'm
that
sorry.
Metastasized and all that jazz, all
Yeah.
that fun podcast stuff for the listeners.
No, I mean it's the thing. A lot of people lost their father. I lost
Yeah.
my dad when I was 14.
Really? How?
So it's a long story, buddy. It's a mystery. I mean, the cause of death was heart attack, but his heart was beating fine. But there was a lady that kept the police outside for 3 to 4 hours while she cleaned out my dad's house.
Wow.
And they said if they could have gotten in a few hours earlier, they could have saved him. But my dad was also 6'9", 300 pounds. He was a very massive man.
Yeah.
And so who knows how long it took them to move him? Who knows, what the situation was there? But ultimately, so the mystery surrounding my father's death is we'll never really know what happened. But his heart was beating fine. It was his brain was dead. So it looked more like he was suffocated than it did he had a heart attack.
Brother, that is terrible.
Yeah. I mean, I've processed it. I've done a lot
Yep.
I've done a lot of work on it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I've done EMDR with it where I
Is
go
that
back
the one
through.
where you look on a highway?
No, that's kind of, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, but it's more like there's a light on a bar and you follow it, or somebody's holding like a glow stick or a piece of paper and you just follow it and you go back through the memory. And I scientifically, I don't really know what or how it works. I just know that it has definitely calmed me when I think about these experiences.
That is a good thing to know about.
Absolutely.
I'm glad that it's brought you peace.
Virtual reality exposure therapy is what you're talking about with looking at a highway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, virtual exposure.
Okay. Cool.
Continue.
What is that? Explain that real quick, though.
It says therapy involving looking at a highway typically refers to virtual reality exposure therapy, VRET, or in-person exposure for fear of driving. Oh,
Okay.
So where patients safely view, watch traffic, or drive on highways to reduce anxiety. Okay, so it's specifically for anxiety while driving. It's literally just a virtual reality of just doing the
Gosh,
damn thing.
this didn't help with my father's potential murder at all.
Yeah.
What's
That's
where we were. I forgot.
But if I ever find out who did it, I'm going to drive to them so well
I'll be able to drive to the cops.
with no anxiety
I
whatsoever.
found a way to segue out of that juicy topic real quick. Sorry about that.
No, just out of curiosity, what company manufactures? Is it an Asian company? Yeah, that's a fair question.
The first women Asian company.
It was created by Max North and Sarah North, pioneered in the 1990s.
Oh wow!
They documented the concept in 1994 publication, in a 1996 book. Huh.
So it's been around for a while.
Yeah, seems that way. And
That's pretty interesting.
yeah, and they don't sound Asian.
Virtual reality exposure therapy. There you go. You learn something new every day.
What else do you want me to look up?
EMDR,
What about it?
just EMDR therapy. So I was going to ask, have you done any trauma work on losing your dad?
No, I haven't. Well, I guess I've gone to therapy and then
Like grief counseling?
no, not grief counseling specifically. I just talk to a therapist every once in a while, and then I've been doing transcendental meditation.
Okay.
But so it's not, I guess, dead dad specific, but
No, I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's good to cover all the bases at once too. You know what I mean?
yeah. It helps me with the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, I like meditation too. What did they do when you were little? What did mom and dad do? What were their jobs?
So my dad worked at UPS because that was his first job. I think when he was young, he worked for UPS as like a driver, and then he worked in some like corporate capacity. Eventually, he was at UPS for like 20-something years or something.
UPS is one of those companies where, like, I know it used to be, where you could literally go from like the mailroom to a CEO.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did.
They promoted within for a long time. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so and then later he worked at their like construction and water management company. He worked in human resources at that point.
Okay.
So he started at UPS and then I think got into HR and then moved over to this water construction company. And then my mom was she was a librarian for a little bit.
Oh, so your mom was smart.
Yeah. No, my mom, she's smart in her own way, but she wasn't like, heady,
Yeah.
And then she was like a TA, a teacher's assistant. She would be like, I just remember her like once working at my school in the capacity of a librarian and then another time in the capacity of like one of those ladies that was like, recess is over. Yeah. And
did you like having your mom in school?
When I was that young, it wasn't bad.
When you got older?
Oh, well, luckily, I mean, it was like when I was in 3rd and 4th grade when you kind of still like your parents,
Yeah.
It's not like you never stop loving them, but like there's a point where
Yeah, especially during the teenage years.
Yeah, like if that would have happened to me in middle school or high school, I would have killed her and then myself. And then she worked she just retired, I think, like a year ago, but she worked at like our public school program in like the funding department or something like that.
Oh, okay. What's your earliest memory with your mom and dad? Like, if you can go back, what's like one of the first things you can remember with the two of them?
With the two of them, I always go back to road trips. We're a big road trip family.
I love that.
Yeah, so those were always so my mom's from San Antonio.
Okay.
But I was born in San Antonio, but then I grew up in Colorado mostly. But we would always take that trip, which is about, I think, 15 hours or so.
Yeah, that's a hike.
Yeah, so we would do it in a day. And I always remember stopping at a Dairy Queen for their country fried chicken tenders.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah. I would always remember that. I know. I would. That was the thing I was like most stoked about on those road trips is like when we'd stop and I would like.
Young Dylan's getting in the car and you're like, I'm going to get some Dairy Queen.
Well, I would like wake up, and it would be night and there's a Dairy Queen symbol and I'm like, all right, nice. So
for you, it's like a symbol of hope.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like everything's going to be okay.
So that was probably some of my earliest memories with them was just like being in a car and then.
What kind of car?
We had at one point we had this big purple van.
Yeah.
And it had like, like when they first introduced the TVs in them.
Yeah. Oh,
it had like with a VCR player. It was like a massive. It like the screen was like probably this big.
Yeah. But the console for it,
the console was like massive. It was in the middle. And so we had that one, and then we had a white Expedition.
Okay.
And then we had a couple of Expedition. We were always changing cars when I was young.
Yeah?
Yeah, but we were.
Those are good road trip cars, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We did a road trip. It was in like a 93 Beretta. You know what I mean? We were going to Myrtle Beach.
What does a Beretta look like?
Let's pull it up. A 93 Chevy Beretta. Oh, man. We could even do Lumina.
Wow.
There we go. Boom. I rode 5 hours in the beach in the backseat of one of those. A blue one. Right there to the left, the blue one, just like that.
Wow.
That was probably a pretty small back seat.
And then my mom had a 96 Grand Prix. We're going back, buddy. There we go.
Yeah.
Right there.
There we
Wow.
Look at that chariot.
That's a cool
go.
car.
And Tammy riding around in that.
Oh, dude, Tammy was hot stuff in that thing. She was hot stuff. It was like the blue one right there, but it was red.
That's cool.
Yeah. Did you have brothers and sisters, you say?
I had I have one older brother. And he's like 4.5 years older than me. His name's Scotty.
Scotty.
Yeah.
Okay, you and Scotty close?
We're like meme close, you know? Like
Share reels?
yeah, we'll share
Yeah.
like memes and reels. And then with the real stuff, that's a little less.
Dude, my brother gets so frustrated with me because he'll send me like 40 and I just won't look at him until like one day.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting around. I'm like, all right, let's go through.
That is a good way to do it though, because then you really get like a sense of like who the person is by the reels
Yeah,
they
like
send.
where he's at. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. You ever looked at like saved the Instagram reels you look at and then re-look at them? And if you go back months, you can tell what kind of state of mind you were in at the time.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
Buddy, I've even got messages like that. Where I'm like, I go back and read it. I'm like, oh, I was depressed.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, I was not doing well. What was I thinking?
I know I'm super depressed when I look at my saved reels and they're all like personal development or like growth mindset shit. I'm like, damn, I was in rocky territory.
Yeah, I know. When I'm doing well, it's like all my interests. It's like food, like working out. It's all the shit that I'm actually into.
Yeah.
But when I'm like not doing well, it's all the stuff to try to get me back into that.
Right. It's more
They'll
about
be like instead of showing me like somebody cooking or anything like that, it's like they'll show me like an eating competition.
right.
You're like, look, they're eating food vigorously. You could eat.
It's like thinking about doing versus the doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, the algorithm attacks you psychologically.
It
Dude.
really does.
They'll get you out of some shit.
It's a goddamn knife fight out there. Psychologically.
Oh man, were your parents hard on you growing up, or you think they were like loose?
They were hard on me about grades, but I had just wore them down over the years.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, just over the years, they kind of slowly started accepting that like I just wasn't a school guy.
Like, listen, mom and dad, you can either lower your expectations or you're just going to increase your disappointment.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is like my expectations were like literally at the end, they're just like, we just need you to pass high school. So at the end, I had worn them all the way down to like, I took a online course at BYU to graduate high school. I graduated high school early actually by
That's
doing
cool.
that. Yeah. But it was like, just a bare minimum.
Yeah, but you strike me, you are an intelligent person. Like, we've had conversations. You are an I think you sell yourself short a little bit there. You are smart, dude. Like, you might not be conventionally, like, I was never, like, great at school. But that never, stopped me from learning.
Right. It's just the shit that they were saying I didn't give a fuck about.
Yeah, that's fair. No, that's fair. I didn't like it either. I had one class, man, where she let me sleep during the class. It was geometry.
Nice.
And because I worked at Subway at night.
Yeah.
Dude, Miss Slade. Shout out to you, Miss Slade. I still think about you. I used to give her free deals on subs because she let me sleep during class.
Nice.
I don't know if that was legal.
Free
Dude.
deals on subs.
But hey, we hooked her up.
You really need teachers like that who will like kind of like not do their job to some kids. Because you have to
Discretion.
understand. Yeah. Discretion and like empathy of like, hey, like I've been bad at this for 4.5 months. This isn't like an issue of like, can we get Dylan motivated? It's like an issue of he's not going to be. So let's just roll with that.
Yeah. Yeah. But what if there was an education? But what if there was an education system? I want to ask you this, that catered to your interests?
Oh, then I would have a blast.
You know what I mean? Because you love being on stage. So imagine like something in the dramatic arts would have been right up your alley. If you could have majored in like all like set design and lighting and, you know, camera work and all those things from a high school level.
Yeah.
Imagine how much more successful you would have been if education was catered to you rather you being catered to education.
Yes, I totally agree. If education was more catered to me, I wouldn't be such a loser today.
I don't think you're a loser. You're a very successful
Sounds
comic.
like you're doing pretty good.
You're a great
No, I'm having
comic.
a good time.
Like, fuck that. You're a great comic. Like, you're a really good comic. I mean, I'm doing that with my son lately, where it's like I'm finding his interest in my daughters, and like I'm trying to teach them through those interests, right? So like my son is into like war history and war history, and
Cool.
so you know I found a way like okay, let's teach him like the velocity of a 50 caliber machine gun. And, you know, let's go off like, okay, I'm teaching him gravitational pull. I'm teaching him wind direction. I'm teaching him all these different things, and he's learning just through his interest.
Yeah, that is a really cool way to do it, because like pretty much with everything else is connected to it in some capacity. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
if your kid wants to be like a chef, be like, all right, well, find out the diameter of the peach, you know, or like, you know,
Yeah.
you can teach kids Celsius if you cook in France or whatever, you know. I think that's a really smart idea to kind of frame it through their interests.
Yeah.
So that they actually, because that was always my problem, was like, I just couldn't justify when I would need to know these things in the real world. And most of the things I didn't, but like.
Well, that's the thing is you think logically. And most comics are extreme logical thinkers where it's like, why am I, and I had the problem with this in the military, where it's like, why am I showing up to a formation to get released to another fucking formation? You know what I mean? Why am I doing, this is a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. And it's like, I could be using this brain that I have for all these other things.
Yeah.
Instead, you've forcing me into mediocrity. And it's
Right.
like, you want me to waste this brain space to learn how to or calculate a circumference? When am I ever going to do that?
Look at cursive.
Absolutely. Think
You
about
know?
all the time we spent learning cursive. When do we use it? I sign my name and it is scribble.
Oh, dude, I sign my name and the letters don't match what my actual letters are.
Yeah, me
I
either.
just go, this is my interpretation of what my name looks like
To
in
be
cursive.
fair,
It's
that's
more of
kind of
a-
cursive in general.
But my
people's cursive
signature-
all
my
over the
signature's
place.
more of a
How do the people
Picasso.
read it for so long? Other people's cursive. That's insane.
Right.
My signature's more of a Picasso. You know what I mean? You can see the J and the C, but they're distorted.
Right.
It is not what it's supposed to be.
You got to get one letter in there, and then it's a signature.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got to be one letter.
Yeah.
And I used to think that like when we had to sign on the pads that if it didn't match up right, that there would be an alert or something. Man, I've been scribbling that thing for years. It
Yeah.
does not. They don't.
What are signatures anymore? Like, they can be the past, right?
If someone gave me a cursive letter in perfect cursive, I would. This person is gonna kill me.
Yeah, that's yeah. I tell you what, I would rather get a letter in magazine cutout letters
Totally.
than a letter in complete cursive.
Yeah, both of them take a lot of time to complete.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a
totally.
calligraphy pen.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. There's something really sinister about that shit.
Absolutely. Also, in a weird way, heartwarming. And
Yeah.
I don't know what the line is there, but there's a line.
Right.
I guess it depends on content, but
Yeah, there could be something different. Like, hey, really love the show. Can't wait to see you in Phoenix. Or, you know, your heart would feel great, you know, inside of me.
Yeah.
there's a difference between I can't wait to see you and I can't wait to watch you.
Valid.
And I can't wait to watch you see.
I can't wait to see what you see. I'm going to take your eyes.
Yeah, man. School's a whole thing.
We've been talking a lot about school lately on the pod, and I've kind of been enjoying it because I had a weird school experience, but I enjoy hearing about everyone. Did you go to the same school for your whole like K through 12?
No, so I went to kindergarten through first, almost second grade, and then we moved to Texas to Bernie.
Wow.
And we lived in this like it was like a mansion, and it had like a pool and a hot tub.
Oh.
And the hot tub would go down into the pool, and we had this like home theater and everything. And then 9/11 happened. And then, and then we had to move from that. I don't know how accurate this is, but
So you really hated the terrorists.
I hated those terrorists, dude.
You guys cost me a mansion.
Well, the thing was, and I don't know how accurate this was, but my dad told me that we had to move because he lost a lot of money in 9/11, and I don't know what that means or how truthful that is.
Yeah. I wish you could ask him. You know what I mean? Like,
I know. I wish I could. Because I was like, 9/11 is why we have to.
We could be a target.
Yeah. Yeah. It was.
How big are you at UPS?
Yeah. He must have invested a lot of money into those buildings staying up.
Right?
Would have been crazy. They had to move because of 9/11, but into a bigger house. They're like,
Yeah.
we're doing good.
Yeah. I
We
guess
bet on the
better-
right team.
What was he investing in American Airlines?
Must have been. Yeah.
He lost the house, dude.
9/11 frequently comes up on this podcast. You're talking about schooling. 9/11 does also.
Yeah, 9/11 comes up pretty
Big
frequently.
core memory for like
I think so.
everyone.
This
a lot of
generation
us are-
too. That's
Yeah.
Because
comes
I
on
was
this podcast. Yeah.
I think 2001. I was 14.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember it vividly, like vividly. I was in North Carolina at the time, and I remember 8th grade. We were at this dude's class, like shop class, Mr. Snyder, I think his name was, and we ended up getting let out early. And I went to my step grandma's beauty shop, and I sat there in front of one of the big box TVs. And I just watched it, and like the reporters had been in their chairs for like 14 hours and hadn't moved, and like I remember that. Like
Wow.
I remember like watching over and over again the buildings and like, you know, the rescue efforts and all that stuff kind of live. Because I mean, at that point, everything was kind of televised.
Yeah. Wow. I think I was like 6.
Yeah.
So my memory of it was like very kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's normal. My friend used to have a joke, Mike Enders, shout out. He doesn't do comedy anymore, but he's like, I won't date a girl that was born pre 9/11. Okay, if she doesn't have the smell of an impending terrorist attack in her pussy, it's not for me.
It's probably a good rule of thumb.
Oh man, where'd you guys end up moving to after Bernie?
Oh, so well, I moved a lot when I was a kid too. It went Texas, and then we lived in Omaha, but I don't really remember that much from there. It was Omaha, and then Colorado, and then Texas, and then back to Colorado.
Okay.
So like in the course of that like mansion, it was like a year or less that we were there,
Okay.
and then moved back to Colorado. But I was stoked to come back to Colorado because all my friends were there that I had met in kindergarten and pre-K.
Oh, okay. So you're going. It's like a reuniting.
Yeah, I was stoked. I hated being in Bernie, other than that awesome house.
Yeah.
Goddamn terrorist.
yeah, exactly.
You know what? Fuck terrorism. Support the troops.
Goddamn right.
Amen. Yeah, so then we moved back to Colorado right after that.
And then you spent the rest of that time in Colorado.
Yeah, until I was 18.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And what was high school like? Did you have fun, or was it just kind of like?
It was like a mixed bag. So like I was I got in popular somehow. Like they had this thing, they would have homecoming like king and queen, but then they'd have it for each grade. So my freshman year, I was the homecoming lord, which was like the king of the freshmen.
That sounds way cooler. That has power behind it.
Homecoming lord.
I'd rather be the homecoming lord than the homecoming queen. Homecoming king, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Straight up.
Less pressure.
Yeah.
Peasants, do my arithmetic.
Yeah.
You shall refer to me as His Holiness.
Totally. Give thee thy weed for me to smoke.
You just keep upgrading your costume. You come in with a pope hat and a white robe. Then you have a scepter. Actually,
You
the king,
are unpopular.
You weird one, out of my sight.
Yeah, so I came in popular, and then
How do you think you got popular?
I don't know, man. I think it was just one of those flukes. Like,
No, come on. Don't sell yourself short. You're
They,
charming.
Did you hit like the new kid wave? Like whenever you first got back there? Did that kind of help with it?
well, that was
at that point you're
back
probably
in, like,
established, right?
second, third grade.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you were established. You were like, that was your community.
Yeah, I was doing a grassroots movements for a decade to get that homecoming lord position. I don't know. I just, I met like a lot of kids because like in high school it was when the middle schools came together, and I had met some of those kids by doing sports because they would have like pre-high school camps for going into high school sports.
What sports did you play?
I played football and lacrosse and a little bit of wrestling.
All 4 years?
No. So I did like a high school musical on them, and I was in football, I think through my sophomore or junior year. And then I switched over to theater
Okay.
after
Nice.
that, which was like so people don't know what was going on. yeah. But then
You covered your bases, dude.
yeah, I did. And then my senior year, I won this thing called Mr. Grandview, which was also like another one of those things. It was like this men's talent show / like, like thing. Every year, one senior would get it. And so I did this. It was like a talent show kind of thing. And then, so at the beginning of high school and at the end of high school, I'd gotten these like seals of approval, which were meaningless, but at the time,
Pretty cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
But yeah,
No, there's superlatives, right?
Yeah.
They're called,
I think that's solid.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
say they're not important.
Yeah, no, that's
No.
really good. I mean, extracurricular, activity. Also, like leading to, what we're looking at right now.
yeah.
Say
And
that. I
I
wouldn't
just
say
hung
that's
out with a
nothing at all.
bunch of different groups because I hung out with like my football friends, and then I hung out with like theater people, and I'd hang out with everybody basically. So I think that,
You were a man of many tribes.
of course, they were all pawns in my game of getting Mr. Grandview.
That's what I was going to ask. What size school?
Play,
What size
plebeians,
school are we
play.
talking here? Are we talking small, medium, big? Because this could really change this lordship.
I think it was around 2000.
2,000 total school.
Yeah, in high school.
That's a lot of power. That's a lord with a lot of power. So that means each grade's got to have like 500.
yeah, I think
something
our
like that?
graduating class was like 6 something.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of power.
Yeah.
That's a lot of power. I mean, because I was asking that because if it was a small like podunk school, where there's like 100 kids, you got 25 little minions running around. You got 600
You're
loyal
Lord of the
followers.
Tractor.
Dude, that cafeteria is yours.
Well, the thing was, student council at the time was like a big political. They were the establishment, and I ran my whole thing on anti-establishment of
Let's
student
go.
council because they were being a bunch of twerps.
Yep, that's right.
So basically because the student council wouldn't let us do something. I forgot what it was, but I ran the whole thing on, and student council ran like the Mr. Grandview, total industry plant. but yeah, that was my high school experience. But then it changed for sure. And then I graduated.
What was your favorite play?
So the first thing I did was Beauty and the Beast, and I was just like a French guy. I think that's
Let's go.
literally what the name of it was. It was just like French guy number 4.
Got to get in somewhere. Let's
yeah,
go.
yeah,
What did you just do? Go, ah.
yeah, yeah. I literally would go, oh, and I didn't have any lines. I would just go, oh, did you see what's happening over here? So I didn't really give me a part. But then I had to do these sidekicks. That sort of stuff. And
Who was Gaston's sidekick? The little guy. The one that Josh Gad played in the live action.
Matt Mira?
No, Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. He had like a sidekick.
Gaston. I thought you said guest on sidekick. I'm like, what
No.
the hell is sidekick?
No one can shoot like Gaston and think like Gaston.
Yeah, no one thinks like Gaston. No one thinks like
Yeah.
I don't remember that song.
Who's his little sidekick? LeFou. LeFou?
Thank you, Joey.
Dude, you probably would have been a perfect LeFou.
Yeah, if they would have given me the shot.
That was a miscasting.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Colorado High School, the drama teacher that didn't see the fucking light and didn't give Dylan Sullivan his shot. A polite fuck you from Tammy's Boy.
Yeah.
Yes, politely, of course. But and then after
Tammy's kids, get him.
ruin this guy's life.
Jesus Christ.
Use all of that
Let's dox him,
toxic
dude.
family relationship. Throw it at that guy.
And then after I did this play called Curious Savage, and that was really cool because it was a play. I didn't really like musicals, but I liked plays,
Yeah, I
and
didn't
it was
either.
it was
Same
a
here.
comedy play. So
Okay.
I was like,
There we go.
oh, nice. And I got to play like there was the whole story was it was like these 3 bad siblings trying to get like their mother's or father's estate after the death or whatever.
Yeah.
And so the older brother was like the real shady one, and then the middle sister was like the sort of like money grubbing whore kind of figure, and then
Gold digger.
I was like the dumb one, and I got to play the dumb one. And I thought that was so fun because I would just I got to just be like, "Barr,"
Yeah.
you know,
You've been method acting it your whole life?
yeah, I'm ready for this. Dude.
Yeah.
They're like, just act like yourself, Dill.
Nice.
I love acting, man. And I don't know if I could ever do it again. I don't really have that that desire to do it. But I mean, I would love to direct.
Yeah.
And I think you would be a great director.
Oh, thanks.
I think you have great perspective.
Especially with those glasses on.
Yeah.
Yeah, straight up. I just kind of want to take orders from you right now.
I would just do this.
I don't believe you.
When you showed up, I felt like
I don't believe you, and I never will.
when you showed up with those glasses on, I felt like I was late to set.
Yeah.
I mean, wait, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You're right. The call sheet, I'm number 2. I should have been here.
There's a fine art because I was like 10, 15 minutes late, and there's a fine art to making them think that they're the late ones. I go, John, wow, it's 4:15.
Just gaslighting expert.
Yeah, totally.
How'd your parents feel about, like, were they proud of you with sports and like your extracurriculars and doing like theater and stuff? Were they pretty supportive?
Yeah, they were supportive. They wanted me to keep playing sports, but I think literally just to like lose weight. And so, but dude, there was like this whole. It's for another time, but basically, yeah, they were fine with me leaving the football team at that time, and then with theater, they're like, "Oh, okay," you know. Suspicions arose, and they were right.
When did you come out to them?
I came out to them. Well, I graduated high school early, and that's kind of
Okay.
why I did it, because I didn't want to come out while I was still in school.
Did people in school know?
Huh?
Did people in school know?
No one knew, except this one chick. Oh, this is embarrassing, but I was like hooking up with somebody in like the theater, in like the dressing room, and this girl like walked in and but
She started reprising your role from Beauty and the Beast.
yeah, she
Look
never
what's happening over here.
Yeah, exactly. She never told anyone though, and that was kind of cool.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Theater department, if you can get in with the theater department, that is the place where
Right.
shenanigans can happen in school.
Oh,
They
yeah.
got, locker, dressing
Yeah.
rooms
Well, they do this
costume
big.
lofts.
They do this big conference every year, where like you would go out and you do the conference and you stay at a hotel for.
Like a state competition.
Yeah,
I used to do those too,
all
yeah.
the gay kids would be like, "Oh my God, there's other gay kids," you know. So that was like the big event.
It's like Comic-Con, but like, I don't know what you call it.
It was like the Fire Island for, so
Something's on Fire Island.
yeah.
Yeah. Did you have a
was the big
secret
thing.
handshake? Like you just go limp?
yeah. Just trip. Yeah. So that was like the main thing. But yeah, I waited to come out, and then I told my friends before I told my parents, and then eventually enough of my friends knew, my close friends knew, so I sent out a tweet at the time. It used to be Twitter in my day. And,
Back in the good old days.
back in the good old days. And
The 2012s.
yeah, that's right. And I sent out a tweet like telling everyone I was gay. But what I didn't realize is that it was April 1st. And I was a big jokester, so everyone thought I was like fucking with them.
Like Mr. Grandview?
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I'm gay, and then, so I had to like convince everyone for like weeks that I wasn't fucking with, because I would also be the kind of kid that would just like keep the bit going on forever.
Yeah.
So
What a conundrum.
yeah.
No, really.
You're like, no, I'm actually, and they're like, no, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure you are.
Exactly. It was
Yeah,
that,
we'll believe that when we see you suck a dick. Yeah. It's like, well, you got a dick?
only one lady in this building has seen that.
He's walking into a biker bar the next day.
Yeah, so it was kind of a trip,
I think maybe she didn't just talk about it because it was probably traumatic for her. What if that was
yeah.
like, maybe if that was the case, what if she like went to therapy years later?
She very well, I could have scarred that lady. Who knows? Who knows?
Oh man, her kids go to do theater and she's like, no,
No, I know what
Jacob.
happens in those dressing rooms.
I've seen things.
You goddamn whore, Sam.
She didn't know what it was. She thought it was some sort of four-legged monster.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was kind of a trip.
What's your relationship with your mom like now? Do you guys talk a lot?
Yeah, we talk a good amount. I try to talk to her because she's a widow, So I try to.
Some pity shots.
There's definitely, I like talking to my mom, but there's definitely a few pity ones where I go, okay, I know you're lonely, so this
dude.
conversation is going on too long.
We were talking about earlier with my brother. It's three things. Like he can talk about Dragon Ball Z, he can talk about wrestling, and he can talk about basketball. Outside of those three things, we're not really talking. It's just kind of dead air.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I only really don't even care about any of those things.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest. Like, it's not super appealing
But
to
it's
me.
a way to connect.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
so I will keep a mild interest in like basketball for the season or something so that we have something to talk about.
Right.
Dude, what is your mom interested in? Like, what do you think like her thing is since your dad passed?
I think things her siblings have said.
Can I get an
You won't
example
believe
on
what he
that?
said about me.
No, we've been. I got a sous vide machine lately, and so we've been going on about sous vide machines and air fryers was like a big era that got us through a couple years, and then. Yeah, sous vide machines, air fryers.
She's on her deathbed and she's like, do you remember the air fryer years?
Yeah.
Ninja has a new brand.
I saw an Instagram reel where this lady meal preps in freezable cubes, and then you just heat up the cube. Wow.
Perfect portion every time.
But
So
oddly
cutting
enough,
edge
the
cooking.
more she's been talking about it, the more I'm like, yeah, that shit is dope. Like it
Your mom
is dope.
sells you quick.
If you got 3 weeks of meals prepped, that's way cool. But because now she's like a widow, so she's like, yeah, and she like took a bunch of Ozempic and shit, so she eats less, and it's just her.
Yeah.
So now her whole thing is, how do I find meals to be while I'm alone? And it kind of trips me out a little bit because I go, God, that's fucking sad. But it's
But hey, that grocery bill though,
yeah, that grocery bill isn't so sad.
Right? Yeah. I couldn't imagine what it was with you and your brother, and then
Oh, we ate so much food, dude, so much food, and just so many like Uncrustables and ramen and shit.
Yeah.
And I'd throw like
food.
3-4 packs of ramen because my parents would be at work, so I just fucking eat 4 packs of ramen.
Okay, what's your favorite way to dress your top ramen?
It used to
got a
be
way.
I just like
Raw.
I just do it neat, you know, ramen neat. Yeah. And then as
You
I've
want your
gotten
ramen
more
neat.
sophisticated, I like one of those, what do they call it? That's like the egg that's not all the way done, but it's done.
Soft boiled egg.
soft-
That's
boiled
right.
or poached,
Soft
yeah.
boiled egg.
Yep.
Wow, I love a soft boiled egg.
Oh yeah.
Right on the ramen?
that
Oh, yeah,
elevates
it's
it.
great.
Yeah. Good
That's
shit.
great.
And then, if we were talking really fancy, my problem with the modern day ramen is they go, oh, look at this pork ramen. And then it's like 2 thin medallions of pork. That's no
not-
meal.
Yeah.
That's no meal. If you had given me like a steak on the side and a bowl of ramen, then that would be nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Can your mom cook?
Yeah, she does. She cooks really good breakfast tacos. That's her
Okay.
thing.
What's your favorite meal she would make growing up?
It was kind of, it was probably the breakfast tacos. And what she'd do is it'd be like eggs, potato, hot dogs in a tortilla. Eggs, potato, hot dogs, and cheese.
That's an American meal.
Yep, that's something.
Yeah.
That meal sings proud to be an American on his way down your gut, dude.
I hear that and I hear it get her done.
Yeah.
Just
That's
proud to be an American.
Well, my
Or at
parents,
least you digest me.
my parents, it's funny because they both grew up like really poor. But then my dad started to make money because he was
Okay,
like,
yeah.
I'll never be poor again. But 'cause, like his whole thing was like to make sure we had the life that he didn't have.
Yeah.
Which was really admirable. But
Yeah,
it was
it's
funny
commendable, yeah.
because he was like, those poor meals don't leave you. So like we were like in this nice
I
house
know.
and stuff, but his favorite meal was like a bologna sandwich. Oh. Like a literal bologna sandwich.
But Dylan is so good.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's good.
I mean, I can't I could eat it, but I wouldn't want to now. But fried bologna sandwich with mustard and American cheese.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
On the nights you're feeling fancy, put some country crock on both sides and fry it up.
Fry it up.
Yeah. Some Kraft singles in there.
Yeah, I think what is like some staple like low income? Okay, Salisbury steak. Salisbury steak for us with the white bread.
Well, I was never a Salisbury steak fan, but
Okay.
I respect the hustle.
Kraft mac and cheese.
I love Kraft.
Everybody ate Kraft. We all had Kraft.
Yeah, we all had Kraft.
Well, I used to have a lot of what was it? It was the knockoff of Fruity Pebbles. It was like Fruity Dinos or something like that.
The multi-meal.
Yeah, it was like it was like a punching bag full of cereal
with a kangaroo.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So yeah, stuff like that. For sure.
Dude, my mom would bring home cereal that was literally just a white box that said flavored cereal.
That's so funny.
Like she would bring home shit like that. Like Tammy loved a deal, dude.
That's amazing.
Got this from the government.
Yeah, she would buy like produce at a flea market.
That's so cool.
She would buy wedding gifts at the flea market. That was a thing. We had to tell her one year, like, listen, you can't give used bed sheets to somebody that just got married.
That's a great gift. But a personal gift beats an expensive gift 9 times out of 10. Actually, that's not true at all.
Yeah, but almost everything beats a cheap gift. You know what I mean? Just like,
Sure. Sure.
it's not about the, my mom's not thinking about it or spending money. It's just,
You're right. You got to have one of them.
yeah.
If you don't have the money, that's fine, but you got to put the extra thinking power in it.
How much is that? 97 cents? That'll be good for their wedding, right? That's Tammy.
New is only cool if it's over 20 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
So you and mom talk a lot. You said air fryers.
Yeah. Well, okay. So now she's going to she has a trip with my aunt and uncle, and they're going to Cabo. And I was like, don't go to Cabo right now, like, because there's all that cartel stuff.
Yeah, the drug dealer, yeah.
They just killed the head of the cartel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I heard the story, I don't know if it's true, but like that they were like going into airports and shooting people and shit.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of
Yeah.
there's a lot of violence.
There's
occurring.
some stuff going on.
Yeah. So she was like, I just, I want to go to Cabo, but I really don't feel good about it. And I was like, yeah, like just reschedule the trip. It's not a big deal.
When's she supposed to go?
I think like tomorrow.
Oh man.
Yeah,
or the next day.
If you book me a last minute flight, I'll go protect your mom.
Yeah.
I'll go suit up, dude. We'll do Tammy's Boy on the road.
Yeah.
We'll go straight into Cabo, and I'll strap up.
Well, I saw this comic, Colton Dowling, who is.
Oh yeah, he's been on the pod.
Oh, yeah.
It was so funny.
Good
'cause
friend of the pod.
I saw one of his Instagram stories was like he's in Puerto Vallarta or whatever. It's out his hotel room, and there's like these pillars of smoke going on through the city.
And that's sort of like it's such a Colton thing to have happen because like he went to Mexico and then he got COVID.
Yeah, he went
And
to
he was like
Mexico.
stuck in a room for like 2 or 3 weeks. Like he was stuck in a hotel room.
Whenever Colton goes to Mexico, something terrible happens.
Straight up, man. It's like it triggers a tragedy. It's like the Mountain Dew bottles.
Yeah, dude.
Have you seen that conspiracy?
No?
Oh man, look that one up real quick. Mountain Dew conspiracy. Apparently, every time they release a Mountain Dew, there's like a world tragedy
Wow.
related to that flavor.
Dude, I wonder what Code Red was.
9/11.
No way. That's my favorite Mountain Dew flavor.
Code
Oh
Red,
my
Months
God.
before the 9/11 Best Baja race, right before the time of the Boxing Day tsunami. Maui burst. The 2023 Maui wildflowers. Pitch black. CrowdStrike blackout. Star Spangled Splash. Leaked to the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse.
Wow.
Dude, it's wild. I heard this talked about in another podcast, so we want to cut this, we can. But like in the same breath, this is first off, I don't believe it's. I believe it's coincidence. I don't think it's necessarily.
Yeah, keep living under a rock, John.
Yeah, I don't think it's no.
If you don't want to see the truth, that's fine.
Of the Matrix, but it is kind of
I didn't know this was a podcast of sheeple. Dude, Baja Blast was totally worth that, though. I don't know. I don't know how bad that tsunami was, but
Baja Blast Zero is one of the best things I've ever
dude,
had.
I always go to Taco Bell, and now I just found out about Baja Blast Zero.
It's so good.
I literally, I'm a freak, dude. I'll go to the Taco Bell parking lot before on ChatGPT. And I'll be like, how much can I get for 1,200 calories? Give me 1,200 calories, but I want the most disgusting meal I can make. And Baja Blast Zero is always on that list.
We use ChatGPT very differently.
Brother. If you saw my history on ChatGPT, it's scary, man.
Dude, is it going to read like a manifesto?
Yeah, man. How to bomb an IHOP.
Fuck IHOP.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, come
Although I
hungry,
will
leave
say-
unhappy.
I will say, man, one IHOP thing, and I can't believe I'm recording this, but there's this IHOP by where I grew up. I visited, and when you order a chocolate milk there, it's an unlimited chocolate milk. So I just drank
Bottomless?
like bottomless chocolate milk. And the lady at one point, she just saw I was drinking so much chocolate milk that she just brought like a half gallon and put it on the table. And it was like one of the coolest days of my life.
What an angel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What an earth angel.
That's what I'm talking about, man. So, something to think about.
Oh, man. What was your favorite childhood toy?
So this is a little weird, but I got this pair of handcuffs when when I was a kid, you know, but the fucked up thing was my brother and my cousin, who were similar in age, they found out that I had these handcuffs and they really wanted them, but I would never give it to them. And then
They had handcuff envy.
yeah, they were envious of my silver handcuffs and my colorful jacket.
Oh, man.
So I like that. And then I had it was funny. My parents always had like these great intentions. Like they had really good intentions, but they didn't quite get the details right sometimes. Like you remember those Razor scooters that you could like spin around and like hit people in the shins with? So my parents, I was like, that's all I want for Christmas. It's all one of these Razor scooters. That's all I've ever wanted. And they were like, Dylan, we got you it. And it was literally like a skateboard with a pole coming out of it. And so everyone in the neighborhood had their Razor scooters after Christmas. And I had this skateboard with a pole coming out of it. And I remember being so pissed at them, even though they had great intentions. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah.
it was that detail thing.
Oh, yeah. It's a real thing though, and I've looked it up psychologically with kids. It's a matter of being heard, and it's like kids don't have a lot of times to exercise free will,
Right.
and they're told what to do a lot. And so one of the ways of exercising their free will is choosing their Christmas gifts and picking the things that they want. And so when that thing isn't met, in a specific fashion in which they're asking, basically what happens is they're not feeling heard and they're not feeling validated and they're not feeling. So it's an important feeling, even though the thing might seem mundane and might seem trivial as an adult, right? But as a kid, it's a very big and a very real feeling.
Right. It was, I remember being so mad at them. Even though like out of context, I'm like, oh, it was stupid I was ever mad at that. But it was something too, because like if you hit someone's shins with the Razor scooter, then it's like everyone's okay. But if like a kid hits another kid with a skateboard, it's a much bigger deal.
It's assault.
Yeah.
There's juvenile detention.
It
Oh,
didn't spin around. You know how you could hold a handlebar like that, and then it would spin around. Mine didn't, so I'd have to and
You had to basically pick it up
over
and beat
under.
people
Yeah,
with it.
exactly. So that was like the big thing. I was just remember one day in specific, everyone was on this like big driveway. My other friends had like skating around. I just remember having that fucking skateboard. And just just being like furious at my parents, who meant well.
This is no way for a lord to travel.
Yeah.
Where's my chariot?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And the skateboard had it was like a stupid bird on it. It was like, it's like, sometimes it'd be like, the skateboards, like they put on like a cool hawk or like whatever,
Yeah.
but it was just like a fucking bird, man. And I forget what it was, but I was just so angry. You're right though. Those details matter. And there is like, cause you have no agency.
No.
One of the best punishments.
There's no union.
Yeah. One of the best punishments I ever had was like when I would fuck up in school, my parents taking away my car keys. That like ruined me. Cause
Oh, yeah, it's your
I was
freedom.
like, that's the freedom. That's the only freedom I've got is driving now. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's
Do you remember that first time when you're driving by yourself?
incredible
Isn't
feeling.
it the best feeling in the fucking world? I mean,
Yep.
You feel free. You feel like literally all the possibilities of the world are endless.
Yes.
The first time you're in a car alone driving, it literally feels like, okay, I'm an adult now. Like it does. I think, and I honestly, I think it's a big part of you being an adult is driving.
Yeah, it's such a huge identity at that age. It's like,
For sure.
damn, I can finally go where I want.
Yeah.
Because I remember in like early high school and all of middle school, we had this like outdoor kind of mall, and I would always ask my parents to drop me off at the Walmart across from the mall so that my friends and I could walk over into the mall without being seen that we were dropped off, when like obviously we're like 12, 13. And like, how else would we have gotten there? But it was like the illusion of like being independent.
The appearance matters.
Yeah.
Appearance matters.
It
Yeah.
does, but I mean, no, that does
Especially
matter.
whenever you're working on your lordship. You know,
Yeah.
That really matters. You got votes to get, dude.
Yeah.
You're campaigning.
You think I'm going to be the homo dropped off in a vehicle by a parent? Yeah, no way.
No, we've definitely carried the Lord joke. We've enjoyed that. we've milked that one about as far as it's gonna fucking go. You know what? Every time he says, "I think Lord Farquhar," and it's just, I don't know why. Maybe it's seared in because I've seen Shrek so many times. But anyway, we always close this up. We're getting towards the end. The way we close this up is if you have one piece of parenting advice to give to everybody raising a kid right now, based on your childhood, what would that advice be?
I would say, well, it's kind of what you're doing now, John, is whenever your kid finds out what their interests are, nurture that side of them, and they'll be thankful to you that you did. I would say, like, because there's so many parents that, and I saw this on both sides playing football and in theater, where it's like, you knew it wasn't the kid, it was the dad who wanted him there, and it wasn't the girl, it was the mom who wanted her there. Kill that shit. Yeah. Your kids are independent from you.
Yep.
Once they tell you, and they'll tell you in their ways what they genuinely like, let them follow that, even if it's not what you think is best for them. Unless it's like, fucking crazy, then don't do that. If it's poetry or
you took the words.
Don't do that.
Yeah, no.
Listen, it's okay if you're gay, but it's not okay if you're like gay. You know what I mean?
Right. You gotta have actionable skills. But like, there's, I just saw so many kids that like, it was clear that like the kid was like crying on the football field for not like making it further along in the JV football tournament.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was his dad doing, because his dad was going to like beat the shit out of him or
it was
whatever.
the expectations of the parents.
It's not his dream, or it's not her dream. And then you saw on that, like on the opposite end, it's like some girl who has fucking bulimia at 14 years old because her mom's psychotic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
I think what if I could surmise, it's follow your kids' interests and make sure that their interests are honest. It's like, make sure that their interests are their own. They're not just fulfilling a societal need. They're not just fulfilling your own expectations. It is truly genuinely their interest.
yes, totally. If it's their interest, then support and nurture that. I'm glad my parents did, in retrospect.
And even societal is okay in a lot of respects, because like, I got into things because my friends were into them.
Sure.
And that fostered my love for it as well. Like, I remember the first time going over to a kid's house and he had Power Ranger toys. And I was like, what is this sorcery?
Yeah.
And then the next day, bro, we're like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's morphin time on the way to the breakfast table. It's morphin time on the way to dinner. You know what I mean? Like, we're having a good Power Ranger evening.
Totally.
But yeah, I think that let those interests come about naturally, organically, and honestly.
You bring up a good point too, because you talk about like the friends.
Yeah.
And that can be positive or negative. Like
Absolutely,
in your
yeah.
case, it was positive because it was Power Rangers. In my brother's case, it wasn't, because it was heroin. So you gotta like, any positive thing that they're following, even if it's weird to you, I'd say support it.
Man.
Like you said, that it's genuinely coming from them.
Yeah. Kind of a genuine, honest place. Well, this has been an amazing episode.
Amazing.
Yeah, this is awesome, man. Do you want to plug your socials?
My name's Dylan. No, I'm Dylan Ray Soul on Instagram. Sometimes I post there. Hope to see you around. And thanks for having me on, guys. It was super fun.
Yeah,
Dude,
absolutely.
this was
Great time,
great.
man. Thanks for coming.
Thank you guys for tuning in, and keep doing the thing you're doing, and we'll keep doing the thing we're doing. We appreciate you so much, and we'll see you next time.
See you.
Family brings joy. Was your childhood destroyed? Hey, it's Tammy's boy. Did your mama lie? Did your daddy make you cry?